Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jig, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to SPORTSITE, and yes, indeed, let's get ready to rumble. And by rumble, we mean talk. This is, of course, the new internet talk show on alltalktv.com, devoted entirely to sports. It is SPORTSITE. That should only be one S, by the way. It's not SPORTSITE, but we'll fix that. I mean, we got a couple of, what do you know, it's the first show. We're here in a studio that is in a commercial industrial area with, there's actually 2 massage parlors, ladies and gentlemen. Which just goes to show you where the state of the media is right now. With me, as always, my cohort, my partner in crime, Marty York, the man of all sports media, and we got a great show tonight. We're talking to Dr. Stuart Greenspan about concussions and other things. He is a veteran of many, many decades in the field of sports.
And he's my chiropractor as well.
And he's your chiropractor.
Which is very important.
Because that's what pays the rent. But he's a great guy. He's got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to have a whole second half that we're going to. We're trying something new here. We're trying to sort of be the must-see destination on the internet for sports talk. I mean, that's why we brought Marty in, because Marty knows all sports. I only know as much as any typical fan would know. I'm a hardcore Leaf fan, but we're going to be seen in Zimbabwe, so I'm not going to really focus too much on my love of the Leafs. A couple things I want, a little housekeeping, Marty, if you don't mind, I'd like to take care of, because this is my first time with public access or any kind of media access since the New England the Patriots-Giants Super Bowl 4 years ago. Now, we just have the rematch, and it was great, fabulous game. I hate the Patriots, and I was totally rooting for the Giants to beat them 4 years ago because I didn't want them to have a perfect season, because I'm a Dolphins fan. And it was a great game. The David Tyree catch, we all know the David Tyree catch. It has joined the ranks of legendary sports moments. The day after the Super Bowl, MSNBC's website had a contest, Name the Catch, like the Immaculate Reception. And I entered what I thought would be a winning name. And then the next day, here's my beef, 2 things. The next day, there was no mention of the contest. It's like they didn't say, here's the guy who won, so I could say, oh, was mine better or worse? Maybe I even won. It's like they had short-term memory loss and decided, oh, that contest yesterday, forget it. Anyway.
That sucks.
It does suck, because I had been on the radio with Mike Bullard, and that show got canceled, so I didn't get a chance to say it then. So here's my name for the David Tyree catch, which anybody cares about. And really, if you love football and the Super Bowl, you should still care. You should care about it for the rest of your life, because it was the most incredible catch. So, Lynn Swan, we had the Immaculate Reception. David Tyree, the rapturous capture. Huh? Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
It was a capture.
That's excellent.
Captured the ball on his head, and it was
the Manningham catch was really better, because
You're talking about this one just now?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. It wasn't so much the catch. The catch was incredible.
Yeah.
But the fact that he did that catch and kept both
his
feet in bounds.
Exactly.
And
I kind of felt sorry for Brady. I mean, I know it's hard to feel sorry for Brady. He's got Giselle.
Yeah.
He's got better looks
very
than
hard to feel sorry for him.
yeah. He's got better looks than our own handsome Howard Kamen, who we'll introduce
barely.
later. Barely.
I believe the order is Brady, Howard, Daniel Tosh. So,
yeah, that's the ranking. But I mean, I feel sorry for the guy a bit, because he came in with an unhealthy Gronkowski, who really led the team to the Super Bowl anyways.
Yeah.
And then Welker drops a ball that you could have had. Well, maybe not, but
No,
he should have had that ball.
They were right in the numbers.
Would have
every
made the
time.
difference.
Yeah,
That was the difference in the game. So, you were happy the Giants won.
Yeah.
I felt badly that the Patriots
I'll
lost,
tell you.
because I had money on them.
I'll tell you, I kind of sort of halfway through, because they kept showing what's the wife's initials, M something K?
Something.
Yeah, it looked like the Martin Luther King thing, but the owner of the Patriots.
Oh, Myra Kraft.
Myra Kraft died,
passed
and
away,
she was
yes.
everybody loved her.
Yes.
So I kind of got sentimental about it, and I even said to myself, you know what, like after the Giants pulled ahead late, and Brady had the challenge now of getting the last-minute touchdown. They literally had 50-something seconds left. And I said, you know what? If he throws a Hail Mary and they catch it in the end zone and win, I'm not going to be mad.
No.
Because the Patriots, we discussed this, the Patriots are the only team I hate in all of sports. Even as a Leaf fan, I don't hate the Habs the way I hate the Patriots. Started from the snowplow game against the Dolphins, where they got some prison parolee.
Oh, the tuck rule. The tuck rule.
No. There was the Dolphins and the Patriots were playing in New England. This was years ago. in
Oh,
the
I
80s.
thought you were talking about the Brady tuck rule. Okay,
No.
never mind.
There was a huge blizzard, and it was
Yeah.
literally a scoreless game.
Oh,
they
right,
couldn't do
right,
it.
right,
They couldn't.
right,
Neither
right.
team could move the ball.
Yes, a Monday night game.
Yeah, and so the
Lost that one,
in the
too.
last seconds, New England fluked their way to within field goal range, and they called a timeout. And they brought this guy on with a snowplow, and he plowed the air, just the area.
That was the tuck rule game. It was.
Oh.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, what's the tuck rule?
Oh, we can't. We do not have time for that. In
Okay.
fact, we should bring Stuart.
But
out.
was that a separate incident, or is that?
It was the same game. Do you want to finish the story?
Well, just that they brought the snowplow out and plowed just the area where the kicker was going to kick,
Right.
and he kicked it,
Right.
and they won 3-0.
Correct.
And Don Shula went crazy, and I don't blame him. And after that, they made a rule that you cannot
That's right.
affect the conditions of the field.
That
with-
wasn't the tuck rule game.
I
Sorry,
see.
that was the Oakland game.
Comedian,
Everyone watching
sports
the
expert,
show,
ladies and
everyone watching the show knows the tuck rule game.
Right. Well, maybe they were the same game, but I think
No, they weren't.
The snowplow probably took precedent. Okay.
What are we talking about? Let's get Stuart out here quickly. We need
Talking
some
about a game
sanity.
that happened over 25 years ago, which is relevant. All right. Anyway, so we should take a break, I guess. Is it time? We'll take a little break, and then we'll come back with Dr. Stuart Greenspan and talk about concussions, which everybody is talking about.
Good going.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jam, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
Welcome back to the Sports Site. Lawrence Morgenstern here with Marty York. A couple of things to take care of. First of all, during the break, I was informed it was not Lynn Swan, but Franco Harris who made the Immaculate Reception. Therefore, I'm an idiot. Franco Harris, not Lynn Swan, me, idiot. Also, you might have noticed we have some cups on the table. And I would like to thank our first sponsor, Costco brand Timberland disposable cups. Welcome aboard, guys. It's going to be a wild ride. All right. Our first guest, our very first guest ever. Great guy. I met him backstage. Didn't want to talk too much because, like I said, I wanted to sort of come fresh and want to hear what you have to say so I could react. Dr. Stuart Greenspan, renowned sports doctor and chiropractor with a list of patients too numerous to mention. I will mention just one, Sid. He has been working as an expert in the field of sports injuries for many years, and his wrestling nickname was the Backcracker. Dr. Greenspan, welcome.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you on the show. And your mascot, I guess. So
I'm trying to decide who this looks more like, me or Stuart, but he does resemble both of us, I think. Stuart, welcome aboard. We have to talk to you about something pretty serious. You're pretty an expert, I should say, in the area of concussions. And I know you've done a lot of studying, done a lot of research on it. And concussions is probably the biggest story in sports these days. I don't know why, Lawrence, but years ago when we were kids, we never heard about concussions. But nowadays, we're hearing about it all the time.
We did, but I guess it must have been more severe because it's part of the political correctness of sports. Everybody complains about that. You know, when they postponed that Philadelphia game and the governor of Pennsylvania called it the wussification or something. That in the old days the game would go on. And you have to wonder, are we becoming kind of softer, or is it just more common sense?
Well, it's something we can ask Dr. Greenspan. The first question I have is, what is a concussion?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, getting back to that point, I don't believe that it's any more prevalent now than it was before.
Right,
I just
just
think
our
there's just a little more
awareness.
education, and
Yeah.
I think post-concussion symptoms in people like the linemen, 45, 50 years old, that are thrown out of their house because they can't socialize anymore, and they wind up on the street and desolate like Mike Webster did when he had repetitive trauma to his brain, and he could no longer function. And when they donated his brain for dissection, they found that he had senile dementia almost equivalent to almost an 80-year-old man at 50. At
And these
51
and it was we didn't really know that this is the kind of thing that can happen from severe physical contact.
No, they weren't really all that aware of it, and then with more people following it and the big money involved and the people involved, they, under these studies, they find that more and more people are having it as they get older, and I guess a better record keeping, and then the internet, everything's out there, and but I don't believe they're any more prevalent. I remember having concussion as a kid playing hockey. I mean, it just wasn't that,
in the limelight. Like, you know, it's all, you all right, son, go home. If, you know, wake them every few hours, make sure they're okay, and then,
Yeah.
you know, come back next day, you know. But
It's in the news every day now, it
Yeah.
seems like, especially in the National Hockey League. You're always hearing somebody getting concussion. I mean,
But you can't believe. I know the boys are bigger, stronger, faster. The skates are better. The kids are 240 pounds because
As a result, they're also hitting harder
Absolutely.
and taking a lot more punishment.
But they're also in better physical shape too. But the vulnerable areas in the body are still as delicate as ever.
Right.
You know, you can only strengthen certain things so much.
Yeah.
And the problem with a concussion that most people don't understand, you know, a concussion, I got hit, you know. What it is there's a trauma to the brain inside the skull. If you can think of, I'll give you an example, a shoebox, and you have a water balloon in there. Now, when I take that shoebox and I accelerate it, the momentum of the water overshoots and it'll whack into the side of the box.
Right. And if you
So,
do it
yeah.
hard enough, you're going to burst.
Well,
the
this
bubble.
is it. Someone takes a violent enough trauma where their head's moving quick enough, the brain will actually accelerate. And in certain people who are more prone to it from genetics, some people have a little bit more of a buffer, and some people have a little lesser of a buffer. And that's genetics, how, you know, some people will be more vulnerable than others. And there's other reasons too, well, hopefully we can discuss briefly. But, you know, they'll have this trauma to the brain, and a little area of their brain is really bruised. And, you know, you can have all cognitive memory things and different entities.
That's another thing about
wait,
the
if I
brain,
just-
too. We just don't know. There's so much we don't know about the brain. We don't know how many different ways that kind of injury can impact it.
Well, absolutely. And the brain does everything in the body. And, you know, we talk about sport and it being more prevalent. God forbid in a car accident, you know, when someone gets really hit high in a high-speed injury and you just see the guy sitting there and he's dead, what happens is the top of the brain will actually accelerate, and it's gelatinous. It's like jelly. It's like Jell-O. It'll actually accelerate, and it actually tears where it grows into the brainstem, and it'll kill the person on the spot.
Wow.
And that's not new. This is the nth of having a serious head trauma of an acceleration where the head's accelerating and the brain inside will overshoot, and it can damage tissues and can damage all the connections into the brainstem itself. And you know, you look at all the micro traumas that you can have, or one good event where your vision, your sense of smell, your sense of taste, all these things can be affected, as opposed to your balance, your vestibular system keeps you upright, and all that stuff. So you have these traumas where you have your classical, you know, somebody gets hit, loses an edge, goes flying into the board's head first, and they hit their head, and there's some acceleration there, and depending on the degree, it could be very serious, and you can have a serious brain trauma. If you recall Eric Lindros, how hard he got hit by Scott Stevens, there was an acceleration, deceleration, and a wallop there.
Was that the last hit before he retired? Because he had like 8.
Lindros? No,
Yeah.
he played, but he was never the same.
Right.
No. Well,
This
this is
is-
serious trauma, again, where, you know, you have serious injury to the brain. Not
Yeah.
all of them are like that.
Yeah.
Now, the umbrella that's happening now is everybody who had any type of symptom and didn't feel well, you know, after they got a hit to the head, it was immediately concussion, concussion, concussion-like symptoms.
Right.
Whereas if you look into it, if we would break it down into smaller pieces, which is when you're treating people, not necessarily for the brain trauma and trying to help the brain recover, but you're treating the neck. How when you get hit, how when your head hits the boards, how it compresses and jams the structures in the spine. How your jaw, how do you knock out a boxer? How do you knock out a boxer?
Jaw?
Right. What's the weakest part in the boxer? You hit him in the belly 20 times. These guys train how many sit-ups, how many push-ups, how many whatevers. Punch them in the jaw in the right place and they're down, out cold. Now the mechanism in that, if you look at how that mechanism is in the body's balance system, you have your head sits on a cradle like a bowling ball on C1, C2. C1 is the first cervical. So it has a bowling ball sitting on a cradle. You got all these little muscles that turn it and everything. And hanging from there like a swing is your jaw. Now, that balance between your jaw, how the head sits in the cradle, keeps your head balanced. Like as I turn here, my whole body corresponds, and it keeps your head level. When you abruptly hit that, right, and you give it a quick jolt, it abruptly tells the body, boom, way over here, way quicker than the body can adapt, and it just stops the body for a moment as the body can't input and correct the body's vestibular system and balance for that.
And I think the only difference really between now and then is money. You know, when a premier player like Sidney Crosby or James Reimer James Reimer is not as big a superstar as Sidney Crosby, but he's become of a paramount importance to the Leafs. So the fear is we don't know what's going on. So I think there's kind of, this is what people complain about the coddling. It's like, how long does Sidney Crosby
Well,
have
they
to
may
sit out?
complain, Lawrence.
Right, but
you're
obviously
absolutely right.
longer
It's
the
an
better.
investment.
Yeah.
It's
But no
an
fairness.
investment.
Because back in the old days, especially like in football, all the front line guys were like pawns. It was like, we don't, like you said
But
earlier.
those guys were making, 15,
They were-
20,000 a year.
I know, exactly. And
these
that's
guys
what's
make
kind of
that
sad.
a period.
That's what's kind of sad was these guys were taken so for granted that it even extended to, he got hit in the head, well, let him walk it off. Walk it off was the...
Yeah,
was
that's
the,
right.
And here they're the
Shake
ones
it
that
off.
really, because they were making so little money and they were such, in so low regard, it was like they should have been the ones at least extended the kind of courtesy of like, this guy really took a wallop, let's give him an extra week.
Right.
And instead it was the other way around. It was like, let's go, get back in there. And so I think the only difference is we've come to understand that, better safe than sorry, better that they...
Yeah, but
recuperate longer.
You talk about recuperation, though, and no disrespect to anybody, because I'm not going to start saying this guy got hit like this, this guy got hit like that,
Yeah.
But you see some subclinical hits, and what I say is somebody gets hit very mildly, in your opinion, and they're dizzy.
But don't sugarcoat it. Give them a real,
Yeah.
Because that hurt enough. That was
Yeah,
enough.
they're dizzy, they're nauseous, their balance is off, their eyes are hurting, they got a headache. How about looking at the head, neck, jaw? How about looking at if you hit me in this head, when you hit the boards, where you bruised the skin, where you damaged your respiratory system, because as you breathe in, which nobody really thinks about, just take everything for granted, as you breathe in, the body expands, breathes air in, creates a negative pressure in the lung. As you breathe out, it collapses. The head rocks, inspiration, expiration. As you get hit mid-breath, right. That doesn't restore you.
Is all, okay, what you just described, is that
Yes.
all sort of representative of the new thinking? So in other words,
You would hope.
as time has gone on,
It will be.
yeah, everyone's more like, okay, the consequences of the hit, a forensic analysis of everything leading up to and beyond the thing, which again may be what's evolving in sport, because everything
would
keeps
think so.
evolving. Yeah, so
I'll give you a great analogy.
Please.
You come to me with a door and say, hang my new beautiful door in the front of my house. And it doesn't fit the frame. The frame's crooked, the jam's off, this is off. If I rest that door there for another 6 weeks in the dark, 6 weeks later, the door's still not going to fit. 10 weeks later, the door's still not going to fit. You got these guys resting at home, doing absolutely nothing, stay in a dark room and rest, and they come back and they're still the same bent, tied up, knotted stick. You got to go back, you got to start A, B, C, D, and have a methodical process as to how the pieces fit together, as to what the mechanism of injury is, where the mechanism of injury is, did he stretch this, did he push it, and rechange all those things. And then you fix all those little things, and then you see change in the patient.
How do you fix those little things? How do you
I
fix them?
think what
You
he's trying to say
must
is you take a
treat
plane
them.
and a coping saw to the brain and fit it in.
Right. You got a door, you level the frame, and then the door's going to fit. When you take all
was
these
kidding,
pieces,
but you-
I understand fully.
Apparently you're- No, but
he's-
I understand
but he believes
fully.
it.
But when you take everything that doesn't fit together like this, and you just jam together and let them rest,
Right.
that's not, these are why
So,
these guys have, on subclinical hits, they come back and nothing. First of all, James Reimer, in all fairness to the Leafs, they never said he had a concussion. They said he smacked his head, it was head, neck, jaw right, and all.
Right.
God bless him, because that is progress, recognizing and not everything is just bed rest. And in all
but-
fairness,
but-
when there is just when someone has sustains a serious injury of that nature, there's things to do. But for those category of people, yes, you got to do that.
Right. So
but
the
not
new
everybody's
generation-
under that
But why-
umbrella.
The new
Why do we
generation
all-
You
of
gotta
thinking
separate
is,
it.
the new generation of thinking is recovery is important, but don't assume that just relaxing for a little while. We got to go in there and find out. We have to pinpoint the exact causes and effects of everything here.
Of how
'Cause
all
it
these
could
pieces fit together.
Yeah,
Well,
so everyone is different. They're like snowflakes. Every
Yeah,
head
well, that's
injury
why-
is-
So
That's
is that
why
why they're
some-
saying concussion-like syndrome all the time?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
We're not hearing
Concussion-like
concussion.
symptoms, meaning that the person's got maybe some dizziness, nausea, headache, pain, that type of stuff that's associated with all that banging head, this and that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be just the brain. And
Well,
even
for
on those
years,
people with the
concussion
worst
was the
injury.
watchword, concussion.
Yeah.
When you say concussion, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Dizzy, disoriented, almost nauseous all the time, as a result of a direct blow to the head.
But if you fix all these other things, it's amazing how much better they'll do. It doesn't cure all of them, and there's still that time lag for the most severe injury. But the mild guys, some of these things have nothing to do with the brain being injured at all. It's just bruising to the head, injury to the spine, injury to the skin, disruption in the jaw, could come from anywhere. It could come from a foot being off, believe it or not. If I pull on your shirt, it pulls on your head, neck, and jaw. People that sleep on their, you could imagine sleeping on your stomach like this with your head back all day. Look at the stretcher, look at the pinch here. Do you think when you wake up in the morning your jaw's ready for an impact? No chance. So there's a lot of behavioral things that people do that predisposes them to be, you know, it's like they got their head in a guillotine. And yeah, the blade comes down every now and then when you do.
Would you recommend something for every athlete right before the game? Because is there something you can do? Because you made an interesting point.
Aside from drugs.
That's up to the coach.
Should an athlete know their body and know when they don't feel right? I mean,
described
nobody in the world that's an athlete, you know, you bite down in your teeth. Do your teeth fit together?
Right.
You know how many guys don't fit together?
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
That's a head, neck, jaw problem right
I'm just saying you just described a situation where you can actually, if you sleep the wrong way for several hours and you wake up, you're not exactly completely prone to taking an injury. I'm just asking, is there something...
You're totally prone to taking an injury.
Right.
Completely preventative of taking an injury, yeah.
Can you, is there something, just before, because we're running out of time, is there just any kind of thing you can just say, do this, do that, that you can think of?
Well,
obviously they train all the time and are in top shape.
That's tough. Yeah. That's tough. You got to go to someone who really looks at not diagnosing your concussion, but looking at what's wrong with you mechanically. Is your pelvis level, is your head level, is your jaw level, is your neck moving, is there, you know, are things moving?
So in other words, there is no catch-all answer.
No,
I can't hide my
everybody's
disappointment.
different.
Okay,
no, everybody's different. You can't. This is the problem. Everybody wants concussion. What should I do? What pill? Yeah. Concussion. What's the treatment? The treatment is as different as your car. What's wrong with my car? You must test the car and see what's working, what isn't working, what's out, what should be, and then herein lies the answer.
Right, and even worse, the car door, if we could smash up our
analogies. Can we say one last thing?
I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
I'm dying to ask a question.
Okay, we're running out of time.
I know,
go ahead.
but I have to ask the question.
All right.
Yes.
Because I've seen this little guy in your office many times when you're treating me. What's he here for?
What's he here for?
Looks like dehydration.
The one thing I want to leave you with on this topic is what really bothers me is when people make their own mouth guard. And people are going to get all their pants in a bunch of that. And it's so intricately important that your jaw's in neutral and balanced. Because there's a little... Lost his head.
That's what he does to me, too.
He's got about the same hairline as me, though. Anyway. There's a preserving little space in the jaw here, which you can't really see, which keeps the teeth apart a certain distance. When that thing is disrupted by putting, let's say, this unevenly in here, this tongue depressor, like let's say you bite down on the side of your mouth guard, believe it or not, you increase your chance of getting a concussion, and you increase your chance of getting a shoulder injury on the same side. It will weaken the entire side when your jaw is not neutral.
Wow. So is your recommendation improve them or don't use them?
It is my absolutely to use them, but if you can have a professional such as a dentist make it and then test it when you bite down. When you bite down on litmus paper with this thing, forget that, lost his mind. You bite down on this, it should leave you an even impression of all your teeth. If you bite down and you're only contacting on half your jaw or something, you're an accident waiting to happen in sport or in anything else. So if you can get a proper dentist to make a mouth guard, and then you bite down the mouth guard and you have a nice even bite, you have a lot better chance of doing well following a contact or a subclinical thing than you do without it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. That's definitely food for thought. So is this something that hopefully the leagues will adopt all of this? In this age of money, every athlete should have their own custom-made mouth guard.
Or their own chiropractor.
Or their own chiropractor.
Hey,
Dr. Greenspan, thank you.
I want to thank you personally for everything you've done for me, but I do have a problem with my butt lately. I need you to look at next show.
You're looking at my pain in the butt.
Yeah, my advice would be dislodge your head from it. Anyway,
would you guys like a twin brother format show?
We are going to take a little break. We'll be back with more SPORTSITE, trivia questions, and all kinds of stuff as well. Stick around.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jig, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
Oh yeah, we got a fake one.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jig, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
hear
Yeah,
about it all
yes.
the time. Okay, welcome back to SPORTSITE. Lawrence Morgenstern here with Marty York. We just had Dr. Stuart Greenspan. Fascinating interview. The guy really knows his stuff. I got to tell you, he was so descriptive in talking about head injuries. I swear to God, I have a headache from the way he described those circumstances and those situations. I was like imagining it happening to me, you know?
You know, I was going to ask him about my teeth, but then I remembered he's not my dentist. He's my chiropractor. My dentist's name is Dr. Greenspoon. He's
Right.
Dr. Greenspan. So I almost confused him for a second.
Are they all in the same medical center?
They're all from the same religious persuasion,
Well, obviously.
like us.
Yes. Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks for blowing my cover.
Morgenstern?
Yeah, I know. But it was a great interview. Again, our thanks to Dr. Greenspan. It was certainly something to think about, ironically, before we get a head
Yeah.
injury. And it is big because
It really is in the
And you
news
know, Don
daily.
Cherry actually made an interesting observation on this subject. He thinks, and I think I agree with it. He said back in his day, you know, when goalies didn't even wear helmets, there was a kind of an unwritten, unspoken code of honor that, you know, the way players treated each other. Now, because everybody, it's a cross between RoboCop and the Stormtroopers in Star Wars. Everybody thinks they're so well protected, you can go all out.
You know
there's a
what?
lot
There
more
may
dirty
be some
shots.
substance to that, but I don't buy it. I mean, when Ted Mackey, I think his name was, and Ted Green and Chico Mackey, we decided to hit each other in the head with sticks. They didn't have any helmets on, okay?
Right,
I
but
mean,
those
there
were
there
isolated incidents, and
there were
and
a
they
lot of
stand out.
isolated incidents back then. It's just like we were saying, back in those days, I mean, Bobby Bond played with a whole broken leg one year, so one game.
Well,
so,
one game, one year.
one Stanley Cup game. I mean, they
Your
just
third
thought-
star. Ah!
They
Okay.
just had a different mentality. They thought they should be playing no matter
I
what.
guess, yeah,
It's weird.
That's part of it, too. Nonetheless, great interview. Okay, we're going to take a break soon. Adam Zed will be here with the second half.
And for those of you in the United
program.
States, it's Adam Z.
That's correct, Adam Z. Very good. Now, again, you blew another cover.
You're
Now
the
they-
comedian
Now
here.
they know we're from Canada. Before we go, though, we have a trivia question for you, the entire audience. I guess you will email us the answer, I don't know, or phone it in. Standard rates apply. Here's the question, and the prize is a $100 gift certificate from the Right Wing restaurant in Toronto. You'd have to come to Toronto.
Beautiful.
Cash in your prize. And you know what? I'm going to call an audible here. It's going to be a two-part thing. And I'll explain it. Here's the question, and I'll explain how you can win even more prizes. Here's the question. Who was the first professional quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards in one season? All right, that's the question. You have the answer, you win the $100 gift certificate from the Right Wing. However, if you can also tell us the year he did it and the total yardage, I guess within, let's say within 25 yards, high or low. If you can zero in, like The Price is Right, you know, the little high-low game where they'd stop the thing. You got a 25-yard margin of error, plus or minus. Give us the 25-yard, give us the yardage and the year. You win $200 at the Right Wing, and that buys you a lot of wings.
That's a lot
and
of
those are
wings.
damn good wings. So that's the question. First quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Answer that question. Meanwhile, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Adam Zed.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!